Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Heart to Heart podcast. I got my phone out today because I am doing a recap episode. Let's go right back to the beginning. We're going to go through every single episode this episode. Yeah, sure. Every episode this episode, I'm going to go through what I learned from each guest of mine from Heart to Heart. It's been going on for a year now. I thought I'd take a recap to recap my year and talk about the guests that have changed my life and that have influenced me and given me motivation and what I learned from them and maybe what I didn't learn from them, maybe why they suck. Like, who knows what we're going to get into here, but let's just start it out. George Papadakos, 30 marathons in 30 days. Friend of mine now, he's been a friend of mine. He was always the nicest guy in my hometown. Worked at a small diner there that was unreal. Really wish it was still open. It was super awesome to hear how motivated he is with his running, with his health, with Beachbody On Demand. It was cool to hear that someone was going to devote 30 days to 30 marathons to raise money for Alzheimer's awareness. It was honestly like, it was a really weird feeling to know that someone's going to run 30 marathons. Like, I've never run I walked 500 steps last year. No, that's not true. I walked for 5 hours. That was it. This guy ran for like 5 hours a day. Like, it was a really big, it was a really big eye opener. It made me sit back and think to myself, like, I can do it. Like, I can do stuff too. Like, I got to start getting a little bit more health conscious and fit. And it was cool to see how clear his head was because he exercises so much. He gets that like escape, that release. It was really cool. I'd really like to do another one with him. I know I wanted to do one with my first guest again. So George, if you're listening to this, reach out, man. Reach out. Number 2, Amanda Verhoeve, small business while in a pandemic. Amanda Verhoeve is my wedding photographer. She was my photographer for my engagement. She did a mini shoot with us. Honestly, an amazing small business owner. During the pandemic, our wedding got postponed twice. She sent us an email or a message saying, "Hey, I'd like to give some of my couples that didn't get to get married a mini shoot just to say Jeez, if I have a stroke, this episode will not be released." She reached out to all of us and gave us all a free mini session to stay in the camera and stay like motivated to get married. Obviously, we were so motivated to get married, but like to keep us excited about it and to do some nice photos. And it was really cool. She came out, she drove all the way to Tavistock to do a full hour session. She gave us like 15 beautiful photos that we could use for like save the dates and for the invitation. It was just, if you buy from like a Walmart or something, or you have something planned with like a big box store, you're not going to get those things. You know what I mean? Like, maybe she is more expensive than some people. Maybe she is. But the quality of what you get and the amount that I learned that goes into filming a wedding or someone's big day, the amount of stress involved in it, the amount of like scheduling you got to get done. Like, it's a freaking process. Why does everything make me tired? God, you gotta stop being so damn lazy. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on. It was a true blessing to talk to you about your career and how you started a small business and how you run it all on your own and how you organize weddings and the way you set up itineraries. And it's just really cool. I recommend you to everyone I know. And thank you so much for being a part of the podcast at such an early stage of it. Scott Gooding, giving guidance. I remember this episode very well. I didn't know Scott too much. He was a high school guidance counselor at my high school, obviously. And he was always the nicest guy around, always had a big smile on his face, always was so involved with extracurricular, like with sports and with like spirit days, and was just the nicest guy, like that guy that just no matter when you saw him, maybe he's having a bad day, but he would never let that affect your day or yeah, like it's just he was just a super, super nice dude. And I never had him as a guidance counselor. That's why I really wanted to speak to him now that I'm out of high school and now that he's retired. It was just cool to hear about how times have changed in our high school system and how things have gotten a little softer and maybe too soft, but it's going in the right direction. And about how he stayed so up to date with some of his students. And every single week I see him wish another person that was either in the soccer team or the volleyball team a happy birthday. Just like posts a photo of him with the whole team, like happy birthday to you. I hope you have a great day. And it's just like, it's phenomenal. Like the amount of kids that added him on social media when he retired and throughout the years was just amazing to hear about how like they're starting to include social media with like schooling, like to contact each other and like using Twitter to let people know if there's snow days or stuff to have assignments for. Like it was just really cool to talk to someone that had been in the school system for so long and hear about how much it's changed over time. So thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for thank you for being a part of Heart to Heart. Like that's truly what it's all about, is having that heart to heart conversation with someone, hearing about their career, hearing about how they've changed people's lives, and just honestly using it as motivation to change my own. I really, really appreciate it. Up next, episode 4 was Ben Smith, being a paramedic in a pandemic. That's got to be crazy. Like nurses, paramedics, police, fire, like who knows, like doctors and nurses especially, but paramedics, he was on the front lines. He was testing people for COVID. He was going into people's houses who were on palliative care and making sure that they're getting the proper care. He it was really weird to like, it was cool to hear about how much it's changed since the pandemic, like extra PPE, extra time to get to calls, like doing rapid tests for people, going to people's homes in an Oxford County car to test them at home if they couldn't get out, and to be on a palliative care unit where paramedics are now going into people's homes that are palliative, that are end of life, and making their time left here easier, or the families easier, regardless of what that may be, getting rid of some pain, taking care of little things for them. Like it's a really, really cool system that I didn't know was in place. It was really cool to hear that from Ben. Been a paramedic for probably 4 or 5 years now, and highly, highly respect the profession. There's no way in hell you're catching me being a paramedic. There's no way. I show up to a site, there's blood, I'm puking, I'm passing out, and then everyone's gonna have to worry about me instead of the real problem. So thank you, Ben. Thank you for that amazing talk. I know I've had you on Fresh Thoughts, good buddy of mine. It's always a joy to talk to you, and I definitely really appreciate that talk. My first, like, what I thought was like, oh my God, I'm having a big guest on, like, was the Even Out twins. They were big on YouTube. They had like 100,000 subscribers and like 200,000, or like, no, maybe it was 500,000 people on TikTok. And now they're at 1 million on TikTok. And I don't know what they're at on YouTube now, but that was a really good relationship that we made right away. Like, I remember asking them to come on and they responded right away. And they're like, yeah, man, we'd love to do that. That'd be so sick. And we like planned it. And we sat down and talked about like making it on YouTube and the algorithm and what it takes to create content all the time and to get on the featured list and all these different things on like how to get subscribers. And it was just honestly like really cool to hear. And then we've talked since, like we've went out to driving ranges and they go to the States all the time to film content, and they've been with some other big YouTubers, and it's just really cool to see them follow along and then them stay in touch with me, and they like all my stuff and we support each other as best we can. It was a very beneficial relationship that I happened to become a part of. And those two are awesome. Like they're going to do big things. You know, they started off with Nelk and now they're doing their own thing with the Even Out twins. And I couldn't be happier to be a friend of theirs. They're two awesome dudes. Like thanks, Nico and the other guy's name. No, I'm just kidding. Marco and Nico. Thank you guys so much for coming on, being one of my first bigger guests, as I'm using quotations. I I really appreciate it. It was a cool time for me. It was definitely like an icebreaker. You know what I mean? Just like I'm about to interview people who have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and 600,000 on TikTok. I'm like, oh my god, these guys must be millionaires. But it was like it's such a harder grind than that. Like they're not working, they do it full time. But it was really cool. It was cool to like see that firsthand. Up next, episode 6, Doug Bennett buying a car. We sat down and we started talking about how to buy a car, how to finance a car, how he got into the car dealership area. Then we got sidetracked because at the time he had a 2LE track package Camaro. 2LE track package Camaro. Yeah. Now he's got a ZL1 Camaro. So we started getting deep into his car and just started going right into the car talk. Yeah. But always respected him. He was always such a good sales guy. And he taught me a lot growing up or coming up in the sales business. So I appreciate you, Dougie. I appreciate you coming on. And you actually you introduced me to my next guest, which was Ryan Yantz, episode 7, Psycho Life, helping kids play sports. This is where I got to interview a small business owner out of Kitchener. Some guy I didn't know from anywhere. Got to like start right from scratch. He has a clothing company called Psycho Life where he sells clothes. If you buy the clothes, a percentage of the proceeds go to buying equipment and paying for less fortunate kids to play sports in the local KW area, which I think is fantastic. He also does custom merch for corporations. This sounds like an ad read, but like I love his stuff. He does koozies and tumblers and sweaters and shirts and hats, and it was really cool to meet him, and we've been friends since. He's done my Heart to Heart merch, my couple of my sweaters. Still working on dropping a line with him, but yeah, cool, super cool dude. Check out Psycho Life and on all social media platforms to check out some of his swag. Next was episode 8 with Savannah Todd, the Little Moments event planning. Now I grew up with Savannah. Like she was a really close friend of mine growing up at a young age. Always such a nice girl. Honestly, at that time in my life, I didn't really have a ton of friends. Like I had my close group. I had Savannah, Kevin, Shelby, maybe a couple people in and out of that group, maybe some hockey friends at that point, but they were big in my life. They've always been big in my life. They're still big in my life. Even though we don't talk every day, when we do talk, it's like we never left. And yeah, definitely some people to have at your wedding to look back and be like, look how far we've come. She's got 2 kids now. She's engaged now. Like, congratulations, Savannah. Well, guess we'll find out if you listen to this. Thank you for being a guest. Yeah, she has a small events planning. She calls it the Little Moments event planning. She does like birthday parties and she'll do weddings and she'll do like baby showers and wedding showers, and she'll do all the decorations and get everything planned as for food, as for just make the little moments something that you can enjoy and not something that you have to plan and do all the work for. Is exactly how I think she'd explain it. And it was an absolute joy to just hear how she's been so motivated in that. And she's had a kid and now she just had another one. And just to see friends like that grow up, and like you grew up together, and to see them where they are now with a family and a business. And obviously the pandemic made it hard, but it made it easier for her to focus on her kids. And I think that she wouldn't have it any other way. So thank you, Savannah. Thank you for being a guest. And I can't wait to do it again when it's the big moments event planning. Episode 9 was with Aaron Whitefield. And this one was like one that I was like super nervous for. He's played for the Minnesota Twins in a Major League Baseball game. He plays like the highest tier baseball you possibly can outside of the majors. He grew up playing very, very competitive fastball, slow pitch. One of the two in Australia. Like he's Australian. So for him to pop on and just like talk about his baseball career and what he wants to do and how it felt to play at Wrigley Field and how it felt to suit up with the Mets and go to the main dressing room, and just hearing all the ins and outs of the sport that I love so much was like extremely fascinating. Like it was one where I sat there and was just like, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And like during that time, COVID was a big thing, and he was in a hotel in like the bubble. And it was cool. It was really, really cool. Thank you, Aaron, for coming on here and explaining all that stuff to me, and really giving me more of a perspective on how things go in the major leagues and what it takes to get up there. Super impressive athlete you are, to go from slow pitch straight to major leagues or to go to like that competitive of baseball. It's a big change, and it was very impressive to hear about it. Episode 10, The Laughing Couple with Ryan and Brittany Ostafy. Now, this episode was a very big joy of mine to do. I was very, very new. Like, it was my 10th episode. I'm still new as hell. I still choke over my words. I still screw up all the time. I run out of things to say. I get super uncomfortable and don't know what to do. Trust me, I am definitely still that person. I think I got a long way to go to get better and better and better. But with Brittany and Ryan, it was super easy going. Like, they're a married couple. They have 2 kids. They're absolutely hilarious. It's fun to hear them talk about their relationship and talk about real world shit, like stuff that actually goes on in their life, not just the best things in the world that happen on social media. They've done amazing for themselves. Their podcast is huge. Their Brittany's social media is massive. Their Laughing Couple page is big. They've had on some amazing guests. So it was really like an honor to have you guys on. I would definitely have you guys on again. Maybe I'll reach out shortly and see if we can do another episode. I would love to see how you guys felt about how I interviewed you then to how I'd interview you now. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Britt, Ryan, thank you guys so much. Ryan, we definitely still got to go hit that golf game, get you out of the house. Not 18 though, not 18. Up next, episode 11, Andrew Murray, Molding Achievers, Life as a Life Coach. Now, he'll say the same thing, and I'm sure that he'd be completely open to me saying to this. That episode was a little awkward. It was my 11th episode. I wasn't super great at it. He was very like a little bit shy or uncomfortable. And I know that he'd say the same thing. I'm not bashing because we're doing another episode soon. You should see like over the year how much he's come as a person. Like, he's so motivated now. He works out all the time. He's constantly pushing promo stuff to build his brand, to show that he can help people achieve a better, more successful life. And like, his biggest thing with success isn't even just money. It's happiness and being able to provide for your family. I know that means money, but it doesn't always mean that way. Like, being able to be there for your family is also very big, right? And working all the time isn't that way. So I know he coaches a lot of people that are work from home basis or are in marketing or sales, and it's really cool. It's a different aspect. Honestly, if you would have asked me before I interviewed him what I thought of life coaches, I would have said it's a fucking sham. Like, anything that a life coach is going to tell you, you can do yourself. Just start pushing yourself to do it. And maybe I am the person that has always pushed myself to do my own stuff. So maybe a life coach isn't meant for me. But if you ever needed that extra like kick in the ass motivation, or if you're the type of person that when a pumped up song comes on, you get pumped up, but you need that pumped up song to get you pumped up, maybe you should look into a life coach. Maybe you should reach out to Drew. I know that we've been working on a lot of stuff. We have a couple episodes coming up where we're going to do another episode and maybe even a fresh thoughts episode. Really get to know Drew for Drew, not just the business side of things. But thank you, Drew, for coming on. We're awkward as hell, dude. Don't worry. I am too. I still have my shitty fucking episodes all the time, and nothing to do with my guests. It's definitely me. I get really uncomfortable, or I run out of words to say, or I choke over my words, or I call sheer. You guys will get that reference when my Toddness episode comes out. But regardless, thanks, Andrew. Thank you for being on the podcast. I truly appreciate it. Up next, episode number 12, Jessica Agnew. She's a social worker. I grew up knowing her. We grew up in the same subdivision. We always like overlapped. Like I think we like were friends for a little while and we hung out with the same type of group, but my sister dated her brother when we were younger. So we were around each other a little more, but it was truly, truly amazing. This is one of like the first guests where I was like, oh my God, like we're growing up, like we're out of high school. We have careers. I have friends that are social workers that are helping adults or children or anyone overcome addiction or overcome terrible, terrible, terrible things that are happening in their life, trying to find avenues to help them with all the resources that they have. And it was really cool to see it firsthand from a friend and get that honest opinion from it. Ever since then, we've had drinks and we were bowling. Like, we happened to both show up to the same place, but it was super cool to see her. And yeah, I definitely have her on again in the future to talk about how social work has changed her life. Thank you, Jessica. It was a true blessing to hear your story, and it was really grounding to hear about like what you deal with on a daily basis and how grateful I am for the life and job I have. Episode 13 was my first episode of the final at bat, saying goodbye to my best friend, which was the story of how I lost my dad, going through like the ups and downs that my family went through with him in the hospital, and getting told he's getting better and getting worse and getting better and getting worse, and then passing away, and just dealing with it. And I probably should do an episode in the coming months of just how I've dealt with it, how I deal with my grief. I have my sad days, I have my fucking terrible days, especially driving for 9 hours a day. Certain song comes on, Summer Minds, really bad nightmares where he's there, and it's just tough. Like, you're constantly like, it's a weird time. Not to go right into my episode of talking about it, but yeah, like that and the next episode were both me talking about how my dad passed and what we went through. And it was, I think it helped me a lot. Like, from your side of things, you may have sat there. I don't know how you took it. You may have sat there feeling sorry for us or feeling down or bad for us. And don't. Like, honestly, life sucks. It throws curveballs at you all the time, and really bad things happen to good people all the time. We lose the best people all the time. And doing that episode helped me significantly. I never sat there and gone through what we had went through. It was probably be close to 2 years after dad passed, I did that episode. And for 2 years, I never thought about it again. Like, I definitely thought about him not being there, but never went back through like how we lost him, how fast it was, how traumatic it was, how I thought I was going to feel during it, and how I actually felt during it. It was a really, really good episode for me. It helped me vent a lot of stuff and go back through it and break it all down. And I got really emotional, and it put me into a vulnerable spot. And I like putting myself there because I think we need to, as a society, like, make ourselves uncomfortable. I think it helps us grow and get stronger and be better at what we want to do. So that episode really meant a lot to me. Thank you, Gregory Hart, for that. It was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. Episode 15, Kevin Cooney. Now, this guy is one of the most motivational people I've ever seen. Like, he's on TikTok every single morning, giving us a good morning, you bad, beautiful bitches. Time to wake up, glutes for charcutes or workouts, or fuck him, hit the gym. He's a catchphrase genius. He has a brand called Dangerously Caffeinated. It's obviously coffee. And it was a super joy to just hear about how he started to get bigger on TikTok and how he found his lane. And now he does cameos, and he does like good morning, you bad, beautiful bitch videos for people they pay for. And it was really cool to see how, like, I'm from Ontario, Canada. He lives in Boston, Massachusetts. Fuck, I'm gonna screw that. Someone's gonna rip me on that one. But we live such different lives. Yeah, we had so much in common, and it was cool to see like his motivation and what I wanted to do, and how he pushes on social media and tries to always stay relevant and do stuff. And he's grown so much, like, been on the Boston News and been on the radio and done interviews, and Dangerously Caffeinated is doing great, and his merch is selling like crazy. It was really cool to see someone that you interviewed doing so well. And I can't wish enough that stuff continues to grow for Kevin, because he's always liked my stuff. He always comments on my stuff. He answers me in messages all the time when I reach out to just check in how he's doing. And it's really cool to have a friend like that, somewhere like that. Never met him in person. Love to someday. But thank you, Kevin. Thank you for being a guest. Thanks for coming on. And I truly hope nothing but the best for you and all my guests. Like, never had a guest come on that I'm like, wow, that person's such a dick. But episode 16 was with Sarah Eve Desjardins. I tried to speak in like French. Sarah Eve Desjardins. I don't know. She's a girl I met while on a guy's trip in Quebec. She worked at a golf course that we went with the boys to do 18 the one day, and she ended up like having drinks on the patio with us. We just shot the shit, and she ended up telling us like about how, I forget how it got brought up, but how she had to get a liver transplant. She was in a coma for 3 months and all this terrible shit, and she's still fighting with it. She's still on dialysis. Her body rejects it all the time. And hearing her story about what she went through was fucking unreal. Like, I sit here and my chest feels weird, and I think I'm dying, or I have the sniffles. I think I have COVID. My vision goes blurry for half a second. I almost call 911. And this girl has been through the ringer and is just so positive and so motivational. It was mind blowing. It really just made me realize that my problems are real problems, and that there's such a bigger picture out there. And it's honestly helped me not have so much anxiety over my health, because like, when something bad's happening, because she really went through it. And Thank you, Sarah, for that. It was a true pleasure to talk to you. Hope to come out and golf again out there. And I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy. I hope that everything's going well with your liver. And I definitely would love to chat in the future about your recovery and everything you've been through. Episode 17 with my lovely fiance, Kristen, aka my fiance, the Newlywed Game. We played a little bit of a Newlywed Game. My fiance is hilarious. She doesn't watch my podcast. We're gonna find out if she does watch my podcast, because she'll text me being like, "Why the fuck did you say that on your podcast?" She doesn't listen to my podcast. Her favorite podcast is "You Can't Sit With Us," which is just so disrespectful. But it was nice to just sit down in here, and we were both uncomfortable. I call her out for being uncomfortable, but I was equally as uncomfortable. It was just like having to like force conversation at first, because it just felt like we had to always have something to say. But we're definitely going to do a bunch more podcasts coming up in the future. I'd love to sit down with her more, maybe even just do a couples podcast where we just talk about the shit that bugs the fuck out of us about each other all day, because it's just nice to get it out. Like, we don't have to sit there for an hour and just say a bunch of shit we hate about one another. It'd be good and bad. And I know the Laughing Couple does a version of it called Horrible and Hilarious, or I hate you, I love you, or something like that. Like, where they just talk about stuff that bugs the fuck out of them and stuff that they love each other about one another. Love you, Kristen. Hopefully you see this. We'll see if you do. If not, well, fuck you then. Episode 18, Sid Robertson, learning to address your mental health. That was a big one. I remember in high school, something bad had happened in her life, and I really didn't know what had happened. I was so dumb or naive, or I don't know what I was. I just it didn't affect my life. I didn't really care. And hearing her story about her mom and what had happened, and it's just really sad. Like, it just is really shitty that someone can just completely fuck up another family's life in such an instant. And it was cool to hear from her firsthand about how she started to realize she needed mental health help. It's something that you might not just sit there and be like, "Oh my God, I need help." Like, it took her a lot of signs to realize, like, I need to go see someone. I need to sit down with someone and address what's going on. And like, why am I like this? Like, it was a cool story to hear, especially from someone that I looked up to in high school. Like, we weren't like amazing friends, but we definitely were acquaintances. And she was always so motivated, and she always played so many sports. And I was just like, envied her. Like, just like, how do you stay so motivated? Like, I can barely wake up in the morning to go to school, let alone be so motivated like you. So it was really cool to sit down with Sid, and thank you, Sid. You're just so motivational now with quitting her job. Like, go follow her social media, Sid Robertson, to hear more about what she's doing right now, what she's going through, and how she did address her mental health at such a weird stage in her life with university. Episode 19, Sarah Dow, dealing with the difficulties of losing your mom. This was another one that followed right after. Another girl I went to high school with who lost her mom at such a young age and take care of her brother, and just really became a woman at such a young age. Like, became an adult at such a young age. Like, to have so much of your childhood taken away because you lose a parent like that. Like, I'm not going to say I'm lucky that I lost my dad in my 20s, but I'm luckier than her. Like, not having my dad during my main sports years and motivating me and pushing me to do better in school and better in sports and being an independent person. Honestly, if my dad would have died in high school, I bet you this podcast wouldn't be here, because I didn't get to learn the rest of the shit he wanted to teach me about just being true to myself, being nice to everyone. Comedy is comedy. People aren't going to take everything you say well every time, but they know it's coming from a good place, and they know you're not a piece of shit. I should write a book about what my dad taught me. But anyway, Sarah Dow, super motivated, became a lawyer. Like, she's now a lawyer. She put herself through all this schooling and dealt with her mental health issues too, when she could have just sat there and just been like, fuck the world. The world does not like me. This is not my life to live. And she pushed through. And thank you, Sarah. It was a super motivational conversation, and I really hope to talk again. Next up, episode 20, Cashel Barnett, Life After Love Island. This is when I started to get into a little bit more of like viral guests, I'd say. Like, he was on the Netflix series Love Island. He was on there for quite a long time. He was actually quite a crucial player in the game. And hearing about his time on there, and hearing about his travels, and hear about how he is traveling across the north, or across the states on his motorcycle, and things going on in his life. It was cool to just take him out of Netflix. You know what I mean? Like I watched him on TV. I was like, oh my God, this guy seems fucking sweet. I'll reach out, see if he wants to link up and do an episode. He was nice enough to give me the time of day to do it. And then it was just, he was such a chill dude. Like he's a guy that I would love to like meet at a bar and have a drink with and just fucking chat and shoot the shit, talk about music and life. And it was a great episode for me. I really and truly enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did too, based on the views you guys did. But yeah, that was a really fun one for me, was to have him. I remember freaking out. I remember running downstairs being like, the guy from Love Island's coming on the podcast. Cashel's coming on the podcast. I was losing my shit. So excited at that time. And it was just such a new thing for me to have someone like that acknowledge who I was. And it was really cool. Next up, episode 21, Ann Hicks, the experience of being on Master Chef. Now, this is a cool one. Ann has been like a friend, a good friend of mine since that episode. She reaches out all the time on my stories and likes all my stuff and comments on my stuff. It's very helpful for people on social media to have people like that follow them, and you follow them, they follow you. You both boost each other up and boost each other's likes and views and comments and try and boost each other's social media pages. And she's been so good at that. And to hear about her experience meeting Gordon Ramsay and meeting all these amazing chefs and going from just cooking in her kitchen, thinking that she's got a chance, to getting her wallet stolen in New York, going for an audition, or maybe it was Chicago. It was one of the two. To go to do like a cooking class in front of people to see if she makes it on Master Chef, and all the different steps it takes to get on it and stuff she's working on now with Autumn. And just, it was a super cool episode. Thank you so much, Ann. I definitely want to chat again after you've continued your endeavors of, I saw your camera work show up, so I want to know more about that. Give me the sneak peek. But thank you, Ann. Thank you so much for being a guest. It was a true pleasure to be able to interview you. Episode 22, Roxana Carroll. The Circle season 3. This is cool. Like, I remember watching The Circle season 3, and while I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, Roxana seems so down to earth. Just seems like that like mom character. Like she's got kids. She is I don't want to be disrespectful. She's a smaller person. And I really wanted to talk to her about what it was like to grow up like that and have kids, and what it was like to be on a game show. If people reached out, like they were rude, or if people were super nice, or where it all came from. And we talked a little bit about that. I definitely want to have her come on again and talk about her upbringing and her ethnicity and what it was like growing up the way she did. And Roxana was just so open to talking to me about everything. It was just so nice to speak to someone like that. So refreshing to not be afraid to not be afraid to like humiliate or upset or upset someone from asking a question that you're generally interested in. She was pretty open to all that stuff, and to hear about her time on the Circle and like all the little, like the hallways and the rooftop pool and all this stuff that you didn't really know where it was, or if they were all in the actual same building, if they went home after the taping, how it all worked. So it was super cool to hear her explanation on it. And yeah, I definitely would do another one talking about her life and everything. So thank you, Roxana. It was super cool to talk to you, especially from seeing you on TV to talking to you over Zoom was an absolute joy. Episode 23, Brad Henderson, Birds Golf, from golf pro to entrepreneur. This was a cool one. We did this one in person. Brad's been a buddy of mine for a little while now, ever since I reached out to him to be a podcast sponsor. What a good podcast sponsor I am for not having his stuff hanging up over here. Definitely going to have to make a change for that. But it was cool to sit down and talk to him. He started a golf brand, making hats to start. Beautiful hats, deep on your head, fit so nice. I'm not just saying that. Like, I'm not getting anything for saying this. They are legit good hats. Golf tees, golf gloves, assistance trainers, like shirts now, head covers, golf tees. It's cool. It's a sweet brand. It's got its ups and downs right now. It's so new, but his hats are phenomenal. His shirts are so comfortable and they're loud and I love them. His golf head covers are beautiful. I use his tees all the time and I swear by them. And he always says like they're just cheap wooden tees. I just got my logo on them. It's something I can hand out for free when people buy stuff, but I thoroughly enjoy them. But it was cool to talk about him being a golf pro and traveling to Florida and how it all started. And a buddy of his that he caddied with, they're like, we can't do this forever. Start something related to golf. And Birdie was Birdie in golf. So Birds Golf, how it all came together, how they created the logo, the circle around the logo. It was super cool. We're buddies now. We've golfed a couple times since. He's not very good compared to me. I'm pretty much a scratch golfer, but I like to have him out to give him some tips and tricks on how to improve his golf game. So thanks for coming out, Brad. Episode 24 with Chris Sapphire, season 1 of The Circle. Chris was a freaking hoot. He's very religious, which caught me off guard, and I'm so happy about it. Like it wasn't an off guard in a bad way. Like it was just very refreshing to talk to someone who has had good happen in their life with being on The Circle and blowing up on social media and being a model now, and we live such different lives. Like he lives in Dallas, Texas. He's been on The Circle. Like we live such different lives, and just have that one-on-one conversation of just shooting the shit and talking about life and talking about drinking beer and talking about things going on in Dallas and the weather storms there and what it was like to be on The Circle and how things have changed since. And he wants to be on Queer Eye, and it was just really cool to talk to Chris and get his side of the story on The Circle and what he's went through since being off of it. And it was really cool. And he was on the first season, and he was one of the final people in it. So it was really cool to get the whole process from him. Thank you, Chris. I hope to talk to you again sometime. Definitely want to meet in person. I'm gonna come down to Dallas. You take me to the best club for sure. Episode 25 with Kyle Weatherman. He's a NASCAR Xfinity racer. It was cool to get the ins and outs of like what it really takes to prepare for a race mentally, physically, how they're going to change the car next year, different tracks he likes to do. It's his first time being a full-time racer. He got really big or decently big on TikTok. He goes live a lot, and how he stays so busy with that, and he's so motivated. He's constantly like working on the car and working with his pit crew, and it really gets him more involved in it. And it's really cool how he's pushed, and it's really cool how he lives. Like he is like the type of person, he's like, it's not whether I make it, it's when I make it, which I fucking love that mentality. That's the mentality you gotta have if you really want to do something in your life. I'm gonna do it. And I just find that so motivated. So thanks so much, Kyle. I'd love to. We talked about getting together when he comes to Buffalo or to Michigan Speedway for a race. So that'd be super cool to meet him in person and see what the cars are all about. Episode 26. This, I'm so biased. It's my podcast. And I love every single episode. Halston Ray was one that I was like losing my shit because Halston Ray, if you don't know who that is, he's the director of the Burt Cast. Burt Kreischer is one of my all-time favorite comedians. I listen to his podcast every single Monday, and I listen to Burt Cast in the middle of the weeks when they come out. And it was so amazing to hear his story about how he met Burt. First off, it was a fucking wild story about being in Vegas and meeting his musical idols and then wanting to move back to LA to work with his music idols and then being let down and then meeting Burt. Like, it was such a fucking wild story, man. Like, he needs to write a book. Halston, I truly, truly, truly respect you so much. Not only did he come on the podcast and tell me all about how he met Burt and how he got this lifestyle, like how he's a full-time podcast producer for Burt, but he messaged me after and he's like, if you ever need any help with audio or video editing or any help with your podcast, please reach out. Like, I'll give you a hand, which is so fucking crazy for a guy that edits one of the biggest podcasts in the world for one of the biggest comedians in the world to just be like, if you ever need a hand, man, reach out. I'll help you out. If you're ever in LA, let's link up. I'll show you some sweet shit. Like, that is fucking unreal. So Halston, thank you so much for that time. I truly, truly appreciate it. And my most recent episode 27 with Four Corners, the official DJ of the Toronto Raptors. That one was wild. Like, he's in Toronto. He's not that far away. He is the official DJ of the Toronto Raptors. He started working at like a Roots as a DJ and just was like, I'm going to make it. 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 Now he's like met Drake. He's buddies with Drake. He travels around the world DJ in different clubs. He's the full-time DJ of the Raptors. He was there for the 2019 championship. He's been there for like fucking 15 years or something. And he's like pretty much changed the way that you get entertained at a basketball game. It was mind blowing. I really appreciate you coming on Four Corners. Definitely going to meet up at the Rogers Center at some point for a beer, and the beer's definitely on me. I really, really appreciate you. I really appreciate all my guests. Like, the past year has been eye opening for me. Making it on social media, which I am so far from doing that, is very, very, very hard. It's very, very hard to to like, I pay for advertisements and I try and promote this podcast as much as I can with my friends and family. And I rely on you guys. Like, I rely on you to tell one extra person, hey, listen to this podcast. Maybe if it's not even your episode, or you don't even or you don't even follow the podcast very much, just for you to be like, yo, go check out the Heart to Heart podcast. I know that guy, or I've been listening to the Heart to Heart podcast. Like, you should give it a listen. Like, listen to this episode. I think you'd be interested in the Four Corners. He's a basketball DJ for the Raptors. Stuff like that. It goes so far, and word of mouth has like blown my podcast up way faster than I thought I would. Blown up in such a small tense. Like, I don't mean to put that big. Like, I got a lot of work to do in many years of perfecting this and getting better at interviewing people, but it's been a hell of a ride. It's been a great first year. Thankful to my family and friends and my fiance for putting up with me doing this so much, spending so much time, effort, and money into this stuff, getting this room looking mediocre. I still have a fucking brown door behind me for some reason, but I just feel like that's my thing now. I'm just the brown door guy. This is the Brown Door Podcast. Finally got some opening clip music. I'm hoping I played it at the beginning of this episode for everyone to be able to get a little bit of a sneak peek here of it. But yeah, I'm just grateful, very, very grateful for the past year of my life. And I guess when something bad happens, you take what you can from it and you push forward to make things better. So that's what I did with this. This is all for the old man. This is for Jimmy. So I appreciate everyone listening. I appreciate you listening to this episode. Please please review. If you want to see the video version of this, please go to YouTube. Check out all of my guest social media pages. I will make sure they're tagged in the thumbnail on my Instagram for this episode. Go check them out. All ton of different careers, things that they've done. It was an absolute joy meeting every single one of you or talking to you again for the first time in a long time. So thank you guys. I hope everyone has a great day. This is Heart to Heart.